Let's make sure we're on the right one. All right. Good evening, everybody. Matt Geary for the Geek Pride cast on this Sunday evening. With me, I just pressed the wrong button there. That is not good. I knocked something over and it moved thing. We're gonna have to start again now. Totally professional and everything, guys. Brilliant, awesome. Yeah. So, good evening, everybody. Matt Geary for the Geek Pride cast here on this Sunday evening. With me, we have another guest. But, as always, we have some usual faces, and we have some old hands who have come back and joined us. So, we've got Mark Canty.
Evening.
We've got Peter Ray Allison.
Good evening.
We've got Christina Bogdan. Did I get it right, Christina? Was that right?
But it's okay. Hello.
Never get her second name right.
We were practicing before we started.
I know, but I thought I got it right. And
Wolfgang.
Annie's back.
Wolfgang?
Annie's back. Sean Wallace.
Evening all.
Yeah, and our special guest tonight is Ben Aaronovitch.
Oh, I'm a special guest.
You are a special guest, yes.
I always like to be a special guest.
So Ben, for those who don't know, who are you and what do you do?
I am now I've got "I am your worst nightmare" stuck in my head. So now I've said it, I got it out of the way. I am your worst nightmare. No, I'm a writer. I write things and I write books. I'd love to say I was most famous for my Rivers of London series, but everyone seems to know me for the bloody Doctor Who stories. So it's not that I mind being known for the Doctor Who stories, but like when everyone knows you for something you wrote 30 years ago, it's a little bit demoralising. I loved your remembrance. What about anything else I've written since? Nah, I hate it.
So what was it?
I think you peaked with your first TV series. Really.
Well,
So what was it like to peak in 1990 then?
It wasn't 1990. I wish it was 1990. It was bloody 1987.
Holy shit! So was that? Would that be Sylvester McCoy? Doctor?
Yeah, that was Remembrance of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you. No, it's really funny because publicists always try and skip over the large period of my life in which I was completely unsuccessful. So they go, you had immediate success with Doctor Who, and then you moved on to books as if like the intervening 25 years of penury and pain never happened. And I'm like, I keep going, am I cruel? Am I just like, I don't want people to think that I just like sailed through and on the other hand, I don't want to admit that I was a loser for like 20 years. So, terrible kind of like dilemma that I face.
Okay.
So yeah, I was talking about myself. I'm amazed I got sidetracked actually. Yeah, my name is Ben Aaronovitch. I write the Rivers of London series. I did write a Doctor Who episode before it was fashionable. And that's it. That's basically my life. I have no other life, really. I live in London.
And raging against the machine, against the Microsoft machine, as we heard quite eloquently.
It's only Microsoft because I've got a Microsoft machine. If I had an Apple, I'd probably be raging against Steve Jobs, and he's dead.
Easy target.
So it's like,
run away.
yeah, it doesn't run away. Bloody hell. It's like, Apple has its own problems. Like, give me a right mouse button, you bastards, and I'll switch.
That is the most annoying thing about Apple, I have to say. Not having a single click just doesn't do it. I just don't understand. I can't deal with it.
Right. Well, I've got a mouse with like 3 buttons on it. I mean, and a wheel. Why Apple? It's just stubbornness. It's like they make it a brand thing now. All they have to do to get my undying allegiance, and I will buy a MacBook the next day if they freaking put a bloody second on the mouse. And don't say you can get something that you can add to your computer. I don't want to add something to my computer to get functionality. I want my computer to work when I turn it on. This is the bane of my life. You talk about Rage of the Machine. Bane of my life is the fact that you have to keep adding things for your computer to do the thing that you expect it to do out of the box.
I completely
Have you
agree.
noticed that? Everything is like that now. Everything is like that. You download a game and it goes, I'm sorry, we're just going to spend 5 hours downloading the updates. Why didn't it work off the disc?
Well,
That would leads us neatly onto a bit of Cyberpunk, if anyone's seen what's been happening with that.
Oh man, that's mad. It's just like it. I think it's offered something that it's probably not been able to at this moment in time deliver on.
Yeah,
It's not even that. Like, it doesn't work on PS4s or Xbox Ones. Like, you get 15 frames per second. It's just not working. It's not even
Oh.
a functional game on disc, as Ben was just saying.
Wasn't that not the
it
reason
doesn't
they put it back to December the 10th? Sorry,
Well,
I'm playing on
well-
PC, so I have no issues.
The rumor is that the reason they had to put it back to December 10th is it failed certification full stop on the consoles. And certification is basically, does it make the console melt or not? As long as it doesn't break the console, you get certified. But they couldn't even manage that.
Yeah, I've seen some really dodgy.
That.
I've seen some really dodgy graphics from it. Like I can see, like, I've got a few friends. I'm in a WhatsApp group, and they're all sort of PC master race guys. And so whenever I sort of kind of started having a dig about it, and I was just fishing to sort of, troll them and stuff, and they were just going off, no, that's great and stuff, and I was just like, yeah, but you've got really high end PCs, and it's going to, even then it's still glitchy. Apparently, it's just sort of your graphics work, but for other people, you're are struggling on consoles.
I mean, mine's got like an absolute monster PC, but the only real glitch I've run into was one of the characters was supposed to be pulling a chip out of the socket in the back of their head, except it accidentally used a gun.
Yes, it was the gun. That's one of the famous ones.
Yeah.
Lots of people are getting that. So instead of a microchip from the side of someone's head, it's just a freaking revolver.
Oh my god, that's so Cronenberg.
So you see him, and it's like that, and he pulls it out that way, and then sticks it in your head.
It's Videodrome.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was trying to remember the name of the film. Oh, I hated that film. I mean, not because it was a terrible film, but because I had nightmares for like the next 16 years over that film. Thank you, James Wood, for ruining my childhood.
I was trying to think.
He's ruining lots of people's childhood since he started getting into politics, hasn't he?
Yes,
My favourite of the bugs I saw, though, is fantastic. It was a police officer and a mailbox intertwined and spinning like something Pinhead would show you. just round and round and round. That's all it was doing for like 15 seconds. Oh.
Yeah, I think John Joe was telling me that he was playing it, and there was just some guy walking around with his cock out, just sort of through his pants. Sort of, the mouse was not in the house; it was like just sort of there.
Are they sure that was a bug?
Yeah, well,
It's entirely possible. After all, you can buy upgrades, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I stopped doing that with Sims. That's a purient thing to do. And Naked Sims was as far as I'm willing to go in that direction. And I stopped with Sims 1, by the way. I got too realistic in Sims 2.
Yeah, I think I'll buy it when it's sort of kind of maybe fixed. It's like Baldur's Gate. I wanted to get Baldur's Gate, but it's sort of in its sort of early access, and I don't want that.
But that's just such a sensible thing to do. It's like I always do that. I always wait for everything to be like 3 months of back, especially with technology. You just have to wait 3 months for it to iron out all the bugs, and then get all the bug reports, and then buy it. And then
buy version 1.0.
Never buy version 1.0.
Yeah.
And that suits me because I'm tight. So also usually drops, like the hardware usually drops by £100 before you have to buy it. If you do that, but you sit there going, I shall get it when it's cheaper.
It's like what you were saying. What you were saying about sort of the disc. It's like this generation will never know the glory of buying a game and just sticking it in to your console and playing it. And it's literally like you said, every game you play, you put it in and there's always an update. There's always an update.
Patch.
And it's going to be 2 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes, 25 gigabytes.
The Cyberpunk 2077 day one patch is 43.5 gigabytes in size.
Yep.
The day 2 patch is 18 gigabytes in size. Those are the size of AAA games in themselves.
Yes, as well for 48 gigabytes. 48 gigabytes.
Gigawatts.
And you know what's incredible is that even in all that, they didn't include driving AI, and they didn't have sensible AI for the police. So if the cars, if you park in front of them, they'll just stay there forever. There's no AI in the car whatsoever. You can just take someone's car, steal it, and the driver will be like, "Yeah, all right, fair enough." I suppose that's about what I expected to happen.
If
you commit a crime, the police just appear behind you. 3 of them, just no matter where you are, they just appear behind you.
I think it's like an Anthem sort of thing, isn't it? It's like the concept was really good, the idea was really good, it just wasn't fully sort of realized, which is annoying because like I actually quite enjoyed Anthem. It just wasn't. It was unfinished, and I think it's the same thing here. It's they've had some really big ideas with the concept's good, but they just haven't been able to fully realize it.
Yeah, I think what it is, I've spoken to a few journalists. The Guardian did not get an advance copy because they refused to sign the NDA, and another journalist has said they finished Act 1, the intro scene, and they're just going to put it down for a few weeks and just let it get patched to the point it is actually playable.
What I don't understand those days, because like IGN and a lot of the other sort of big review sites and stuff are giving it pretty good reviews, so it can't be unplayable. It's just
what they tend to have though is
Bloody
they tend to have the really high-end PCs though, don't they, Matt? So
Yeah.
the reviewers aren't there playing on a 7-year-old PS4 which has soldiered on since 2013, which can play Red Dead Redemption 2 perfectly.
Yes, I can
15
testify to that.
FPS. Yeah, which is getting 15 FPS for Cyberpunk. So that's part of it. And also, there was one reviewer for GameSpot, I think it was, who came out and said, actually, this is a buggy mess. People are going to have problems with it. And she got death threats and she had to kind of come off Twitter for a while and things like that, because before it came out, people were upset that she was criticizing the second coming of digital Jesus.
Yeah, well, that was it, isn't it? But it's, I saw a review and it was just like, if you want an open world first person shooter, and you can get it to run properly, then it's great. But some of the RPG elements in it aren't the best. And
it's not one for the BioWare fans. It has like 3-4 options for relationships, and they're all pretty narrowly defined as to which ones will work for you depending on what you set your character up as.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because like obviously you bring up BioWare on that one, but the first Mass Effect game was pretty horrendous, sort of like gameplay wise. I mean, certainly you kept on having to put it down to easy because you couldn't get your gun to fire in the right direction, and well, I couldn't. I'm crap at shooters anyway, so so it's like I always play Red Dead Redemption on with auto aim. That's how I play Red Dead Redemption. Thank you very much. I don't see why I have to aim at things. I have a character for that. Hey, it's a character piece, but it was compelling. The story was compelling, and the sort of like the world was compelling, even if the macro was terrible. And that's kind of like, and you can get away with a lot if the story. It's like writing. I mean, to bring it back to writing, because that's
we
something
should
I know
really
about.
do that.
It's just something like you can get away with tons. It's like if you ever wonder why like Jeffrey Archer or Dan Brown sell millions of books despite having the prose style of a teenage, I don't know, actually it's probably cruel to teenagers, having the prose style of someone who can't write, then the reason is because they tell a good story. And in commercial fiction, which is fiction that's not literary fiction, literary fiction is sold on the same principle that gyms sell memberships, on the basis that if everyone turned up to the gyms couldn't cope with the number of memberships they sell, so they actually sell their memberships on the basis that people aren't going to turn up. And literary fiction basically sells on the basis that large numbers of people will buy the book and never read it. and that's like, so they will see it wins the Booker Prize and they will rush out and come on, they all watched the TV series version of Wolf Hall and then pretended they read the book. That's basically what happened.
Amazing.
And that's why when they make the film, everyone's, but it was a really popular book. No one read it. No one wanted to go see the film version. Where was I? Commercial fiction. Story will beat style.
That's true.
In literary fiction, style is more important than story, and in commercial fiction, for success, story will beat style. That's why David Eddings, sold so well.
Yes, though David Eddings was fantastic.
Oh God, yeah.
Even when he did the same story again, you were still kind of like compulsively reading the same story and going, "This is the same story again."
But I will buy it 3 more times.
Well, no one complained that Agatha Christie wrote only murders, did they? So
No, but Agatha Christie was more of a stylistic maverick than people give her credit for. She was going like, "Aha, you think the detective is the murderer, or you are the murderer, or nobody's the murderer," or she would mess it up. She would mess with your head as soon as look at you. She was a creepy lady, and never trust an archaeologist. That's what I say. Archaeologists are not to be trusted.
To write for video games or anything, Ben?
No. The reason why I wouldn't write for a video game is because A, they wouldn't ask me, and B, that's probably the main reason. B, you will not find a more gibbon-infested industry than video games. And the thing is, the more money there is in an industry, the more gibbons are infested. That's why so if you work in film, all those stories you hear about film writers and everything, it's like that, only you've got a lot more kind of people with personality disorders in video games who are running video game companies, because they don't have to be sociable either. So they're just horrible and unsociable. And also, your status is very low. You come after the guy that codes the wall textures, basically. And so therefore, they think about him first.
Yeah. What about if you were offered something like George R.R. Martin has done with Hidetaki Miyazaki, where he for the Elden Ring game, where he's sort of written the background of the world, and then been said, right, that's great, thank you. This is sort of a bible for writing it, but nothing else from here.
That would tickle my role-playing game kind of nerve, but I have a role-playing game to tickle that role-playing game nerve with, and I don't have to deal with gibbons, so it's great. Because they're very nice at Chaosium, so they're not very gibbony at all. Because there's no money in role-playing games, so there's the number of gibbons is very. They cluster where there's money. The less money involved, the fewer gibbons you get.
What's your RPG of choice then?
My RPG of choice is Traveller or Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, interesting.
Classic.
Those are my two, and I once did a BRP house system for Traveller because I like percentages, because I understand how they work, like 20%, 90%. I understand what that means. I don't know what 15 plus is as a risk.
Myself and Sean did a Call of Cthulhu game with Ben Fee and Sam that'll be a few years back now.
It would, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, to be honest, I'm very much a sort of generic fantasy warrior type or sci-fi warrior type sort of hack and slash. So Call of Cthulhu for me was a big change. I really enjoyed it. It was just like I was playing like an old retired, military man, and it was just cool because you don't want high numbers. You don't want to understand anything. As soon as you start understanding stuff, you start going crazy. And my guy went mad at the end, which was awesome. It was great.
I remember my first ever tabletop RPG was Call of Cthulhu, and I remember embarrassing myself in front of everyone by starting to loop the corpses.
Oops.
Oh dear.
I was 18 and I'd only ever played video games to that point. It's like, I've just killed a bunch of people. It must have something valuable.
I find that really unimmersive when I'm playing something like I'm playing. What was the last instance of that? The one with the hand and the thing in the sky. What the fuck was it called? Dragon Age.
Yes.
Inquisition, right?
Yeah.
And I hadn't played any of the other Dragon Age games, so I started with Dragon Age Inquisition. I enjoyed it immensely, but I really find it breaks the immersion when you're going like, I walk into someone's house. Oh, look, there's a chest. I shall loot it. Even if it's like the guy's house in the middle of the compound of which I am the leader. I mean, this is taking.
This is mine, and this is mine, and this is mine.
And you sit there going, I'm sorry, I just like, no one comes in and goes, oi!
Yeah.
Just imagine
What's your introduction to gaming anyway, Ben?
What was my you see, this is going to date me. Right, my introduction to gaming was, Jesus, I'm trying to think. It was something on the Spectrum.
Wow.
Ooh,
Must have been something on the Spectrum. I can't remember that far back. It was something on the Spectrum, and it was very primitive. My introduction to love of gaming, I think, was probably Elite.
classic.
What did you have, an Amiga or did you have an Atari ST?
No, I had a friend who had a BBC.
Right. Wow.
The proper Elite.
Yeah, the proper Elite. And then I think after that, Midwinter. Does anyone remember Midwinter?
I remember Midwinter 2. I didn't have Midwinter.
Midwinter 2. Those are the kind of games I like. I now play a lot of Civilization and Transport Tycoon and things like that, because I have no fast twitch muscle reflexes whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I play Uncharted on easy as well. It's like story mode. Yeah.
Have you tried the Just Cause games? Because they're probably the closest modern equivalent to the old Midwinter games in some ways.
Yeah, no, I tried that, but it was too frenetic. I had to go and have a lie down after playing it for a couple of minutes. It's like, I'm done now, boom. And I think, no, I want to. Even in Uncharted, you have a couple of moments where they just sit around and talk and have coffee. I need that. I need that kind of moment. Just go, oh, look at the landscape. It's beautiful. Not before someone shoots you.
You've never experienced the joy of chaining two jumbo jets together in midair and watching them pirouette.
You see, that breaks my immersion. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think as you get older, you're sort of kind of your hand-eye coordination when it comes to sort of fast shooting and stuff goes down very drastically. The one day that I realized that I was getting old was we used to have this Halo championship every year, and we'd have like 16 people. We get 4 TVs, 4 Xboxes. We'd stick them together, and I'd win one year, my brother would win another year. We thought we were pretty good. Then we invited my housemate's cousin and his friends, who were like 16 or something at the time.
Oh no!
And they were like 16, and they came in and they absolutely wiped the floor with us. Absolutely, like I've never been so humiliated in my entire life in my own house on my own game. It's just like they came in and obliterated us. Not even like by. It wasn't even like we came close. It was by huge margins, and we just kind of went, "You're not allowed to come back again."
I'm crap at puzzles as well, so I'd get Creeper in, and that's my son, and go, do the puzzle for me. I'm just going to go make a cup of coffee. Because I don't play games to be taxed. What can I say? I don't play games to be intellectually taxed. I can, the Inland Revenue can do that. Right? The Inland Revenue can intellectually tax me. There's plenty of other things in my life which painfully involve me burning brain cells, right? I don't want my computer game. I liked World of Warships, except it kept on trying to every time I logged in, Russian hackers tried to steal my computer, so I gave up with World of Warships. It was too much of a coincidence. Like suddenly I was hacked. Oh, what is the joint? It's because you loaded World of Warships. But someone pointed out that World of Warships is a first-person shoot 'em up for people with slow reflexes, because the battleship takes 60 seconds to swing its guns around. So there is no kind of instant shooting. You kind of very deliberately move your guns around and line up a shot, fire, and you have to wait 30 seconds for the freaking guns to reload. And that's like proper. That's more to the kind of level of my abilities as speed. So like, I'm an old fogey. Beat me at this game.
Yeah, I'm more of a strategy game, sort of real time strategy, and like the Total War games and stuff, where you can sort of have a bit of a think and a ponder, kind of like chess-based games, effectively, where you've got time to sort of make decisions instead of quick decisions, which I'm shit at. Can't deal with.
I like playing Civ 6, but I keep trying to maneuver myself into a position where, as England, I can nuke Scotland.
We just lost a lot of Scottish fans, haven't we?
No, it's just because I just feel like I want to nuke Scotland, but it's so hard. It's so hard. You have to kind of work. Then you have to. They keep making friends with because I'm a nice guy, so everyone keeps making friends with me, and I don't have an excuse to nuke them. It's like.
I always have that problem. It's like me and my brother, we play like board games and like online strategy games, and we will spend we played a multiplayer of Total War, Rome 2 Total War, and it took us a month to get through, and we had this sort of like alliance thing going on, and then he bloody stabbed me in the back, the little shit, and I was just like, and I was completely dumbfounded by this, that my brother would do such a thing, and I was
can't trust your bloody relatives.
You can't trust them. Yeah, you can't trust them.
That's no life.
You only have to ask the kings and queens of the last 400 years, really, that you don't need to
But he's
Never
so
trust your relatives.
he's so good at it though, man. It's just like we play like have you seen the game Among Us at all? That sort of new fad that's going around. You got to
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
I don't play that.
yeah. It's very easy. It's like the Resistance, the card game if you've ever played it. And it's there was one point in it where he basically was the imposter and he got called out on it and he swore blind to me that he wasn't the imposter and he got to that point where he got angry about it. I was like, oh shit, he's getting angry. He must be true. And I believed him and it turned out he was and I was like, you fucking shit. I will never believe you ever again.
Have you ever played Battlestar Galactica?
Oh man,
Yes.
yes.
I hate that game. It's like freaking. I knew he was a Cylon. To this day, I'm salty about the fact that my friend was a Cylon.
And you hold
And
a
I
grudge?
knew he was a Cylon. I hold a grudge.
Yeah.
I absolutely hold a fucking grudge.
You mean a fracking grudge?
We do though.
I mean a freaking fuck.
You do though.
Don't do
You
that.
hold a
Always that
grudge.
Frelling grudge. I hold a Frelling grudge. There you go. I'm gonna
Nice
take
bit of
myself
Farscape.
again. I loved Farscape.
Yeah.
Farscape. So made no sense whatsoever, but I loved it. It was like
it does make sense if you watch it very carefully and squint.
that was
In gravity boots.
Yes.
no. The trick to Farscape is just to assume that you've gone as mad as Crichton has, and then you're fine.
That is true, actually. Yeah, it is completely. It just delights in its lunacy.
It's so clear that he's gone completely mad by the end of the like the third series that he's just completely gone. And you think, okay, the only way to enjoy this is really to go as mad as Crichton.
Okay, but I just love the fact that the aliens are genuinely alien. I mean, there's not just a guy with some putty on his forehead. It is, appendages, puppetry, and prosthetics that's just basically being used in the movie industry today.
Yeah, it was just insane. I just loved it. It was just insane, and it was so colourful. So it was insane and colourful and mad, and just went in directions. But I felt at some point I was like, just give them a break. 5 minutes without data. Let them get some food, have a dinner. Sit down.
Yeah, I mean,
without horrible things happening to them after a while. I feel that it suffered a little bit from that kind of escalating misfortune syndrome that you can get in long-running TV series where like bad things happen, then more bad things happen, then just escalating bad things happen until nothing but bad things happen. And I think sometimes there should be the occasional episode where they just sit down and things go their way.
have a cup of tea.
Have a cup of tea. Or at least win.
Yeah.
That was the thing with them. They never won. Until, of course, he threatens to blow up the entire universe, and then they win. The lesson of that story is,
Well, there's sorry, as you're talking about aliens, and I promise we'll move on to your books. And
I'm fine.
I
haven't had a conversation. I don't get these conversations very often at the moment on account of everyone's stuck at home. So,
but
I can sit here and chat.
Cool. Sounds good to me. There's a series on Netflix called Alien Worlds or Alien Planets, I think, and it's kind of like. It's really, really good, and it's sort of like it takes you. It goes through like actual sort of science and sort of biology, and then sort of kind of superimposes it onto a planet if that would happen by sort of kind of mirroring what happens on Earth, and it's really, really, really good. It's definitely worth a watch. Especially the one where they have basically where humans have evolved to the point of not needing bodies, and they just have robots that sort of service their brains in a jar effectively, and their planet's going to be sort of destroyed by their star, and so they colonize another planet, and it's a good watch, really good watch.
God, I wonder if Oda Stapleton wants his really bloody royalties.
All I'm saying is, if we had been served by robots, have they seen technology nowadays and how reliable it really is?
Yeah, as long as
can't
it's not
expect this
Microsoft
robot.
robots.
Yeah, it's not Microsoft robot.
Well, the thing is,
I'm
man,
sorry,
you gotta
I
think.
cannot service your brain. It is the wrong kind of brain.
We
Please fetch the right kind of brain, and we will service your brain.
See, I think we're because we're sort of technology wise, think about it in the last sort of even the last 50 years, what we've achieved, and how fast we're evolving when it comes to technology. So like we're just spoilt. So we want everything happening now, and we want the mouse with the second mouse button, and we want things to
No,
sort of.
but the thing with the second mouse button is not a major ask. It's not like I'm asking for it to bloody voice communicate with me. I'm not asking for a mouse that follows me around and dances at the end of my finger. I'm just asking for a second fucking mouse button. Okay, this is what I hate. It's like the trouble is, right, is technology is designed by people who understand technology, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you get into an argument with them, well, all you have to do is no. I shouldn't be conforming to the technology. The technology should be conforming to me. This is the fundamental conceptual problem that everyone's having. I shouldn't be adapting. This is supposed to be intelligent technology, therefore it should adapt to me, not vice versa. It's like bloody Apple. And I got used to the button, and the swipe is so bloody annoying. It's the only thing I agree with Donald bloody Trump about.
Wow.
Well, I mean, the first motion capture software being used on the Kinect and everything, that was designed by guys in America, predominantly white. And they were testing it using themselves. And then they soon found out that the system they were using could not detect African Indian people because it had not been adapted for dark skin.
They have the same problem with facial recognition software that law
Exactly.
enforcement uses. It can't properly distinguish you unless you're middle-aged and white and male, because they did all their testing and they taught it using themselves.
So racist technology.
If you look at the history of like photography and things, and how obviously most of developed photography was in the Western world, etc., and we've had to work almost kind of very hard over the last century or so to be able to take proper pictures of anyone with any amount of melanin.
Well, this is good. I know a story about that. And anyone who remembers Blake 7, you remember Dana from Blake 7, Josette Simmons, right? Very dark-skinned lady. Apparently, they were on location. Someone had to run around with a spotlight to keep her illuminated for the camera when they were on location, because the 16mm film wasn't sensitive enough to. She just wouldn't put out enough. I don't know what the actual technical thing. I actually did that at school. I actually went to film school for like 5 minutes, and I have forgotten everything about film temperature. And my son, who has gone to film school for more than 5 minutes, goes, "Oh yes, this is luminals. These are 78 luminals. And this is color temperature of 4,600 K." And I'm like, something. God, I don't know. It's like, and also, I hate film. I hated film. As soon as I found out that you actually had to work out without seeing with film whether it was going to be blurry or not. It could be out of focus, and you wouldn't know until 6 weeks later when it came out of the lab. That's when I went off film and roll on freaking video. I said,
because you want it now.
No, because I don't want to. Because like film's expensive. You don't want to do a whole setup and then find it. There was a hair in the gate. God's sake! It's like, Jesus, you have no idea. The horror stories, when I was working at the BBC, the horror stories you'd hear about labs losing whole cans of film,
God.
right? Like, and television, there's no margin, there's no reshoots in television. You lose like 4 or 5 scenes. That's it. Goodbye. It's Kang broadcasting next Thursday with or without those shots.
Didn't the director that did one of the 2 Doctor Who things that you took 2 scripts you did get banned from doing it again because he went over budget because he wanted to do something better?
Oh, they all went over budget with me because I was in, it was my first script, right? And the thing about your first script is you have no idea what you're doing, right? And you have that kind of mad arrogance of the young, and you're just like, I shall do this, and it shall be the best thing ever made. And no one can tell you what to do, and you just you go, oh, it'll be easy. You just do this, it'll be fine. Right now, and then you get a bit better, and you just understand. Like for example, on Doctor Who, right? You had 8 sets. That was it. You had 8 sets. That was your sets. Once you had gone over 8. No more sets, right? And so we just blatantly ignored that. Oh, we can have as many sets. Yeah. And you know, and I'm amazed. I'm amazed it came out as well as it did, really, given. Oh, I mean, there was one point where they gave me a choice. Like, you can have the windows blowing in, or you can have a floating Dalek platform. Which one do you want? And I thought, well, they'll probably do the windows blowing in better than the floating Dalek part, so I went with that one. But it's like, that was what it was like. It was like, you can have this or this. Choose one of those two. It's like with Rivers of London, when people talk about a TV series and they go, well, it'll be terribly expensive because of blowing up Covent Garden. No, blowing up Covent Garden's the cheap bit. It's having 240 extras on Bow Street for 5 days, one of the busiest streets in London, for 5 days in costume, throwing Molotov live pyrotechnics at each other. Right? That's expensive.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
You can't do that easily on the computer.
No, you can't do that. You know, and
Yet.
I lie. We will be. We'll do it in Bradford. We'll find a street that looks vaguely like Bow Street in Bradford, and we'll close that down. And that's how it gets done.
Yeah.
But I love computer set extensions because you no longer get this thing like, we can't do it on Mars. You can now.
So how far is the Rivers of London TV series in development?
Well, fortunately, the Rivers of London TV series has gone the way of all COVID virus thingies, right? In that it's been completely kiboshed. Oh. So nobody really knows who's making what in the next, you know, I mean... Right. I was sitting there watching did you watch the Disney kind of announcements on YouTube and stuff? I was sitting there going, well, I hope you got all those in the can quickly because, you know, there's
a lot of them.
There's going to be a gap. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Some of them were shot, I know, before the pandemic. So they were lucky that they had they obviously saved them up because, like, my God, I thought the logistics of that is going to be a nightmare for the next 6 or 7 months, especially in America.
It still shows through a little bit every now and again. I mean, the recent one I can think of was in Discovery, the communicator badge thing in last week's episode, where the previews showed a character that had the wrong badge or something, and all the lighting was wrong because they'd pushed out the previews while they were still working at home, and someone hadn't noticed that they'd pushed the wrong version of the file out. So they were wearing a TNG uniform with a Voyager com badge.
Oh no!
So by the time the final version came out, it was all sorted out, but. Everyone was
you often get those. I mean, it's a terrible thing on something like Discovery, though, where we're all geeks and we're all watching them, with like the narrowed eyes. Oi, that's not what you know. And I think, like, have you watched the old Star Trek series recently? That was so cheap.
Yeah,
I love it when they go down to the planet and it's and the planet sky is a cyclone. So, well, I forgot what they call it. They're like a big wraparound picture of a sky, right? And they have that weird whiny sound in the background that they always had when they landed on a planet, like a wind in the distance that was made by someone playing a theremin. And you sit there going, like, and going, that's a plastic rock and that's a cyclone. And I don't care.
With a horn.
And I don't care. You know, I just don't care.
So, again, because it's the quality of the storytelling, isn't it? If you've got the story there and the writing, that can carry it through the substance.
Yeah, because a lot of the people who worked on the original series of Star Trek also worked on Outer Limits, and you know, that's even worse. So in terms of like what they had to work with, so you know, I remember Malcolm McDowell apparently in Wales, not very much in Wales, in one of the Outer Limits stories, devolving. I think he was devolving in Wales. So
that happens in Wales.
Yes, he was devolving in Wales. They all kept on talking about the valley. Obviously, someone had watched something where people talked about their home valley in Wales and had just taken that to heart. And he kept on. I don't know why I'm talking about this. You got to ask me a question or something.
Well, I was going to say,
first Rivers of London back in 2011. Where did that come from? I mean, that really captured the imagination of everyone, and just like, it's a fantastic story. And it's like, what was the thing that kind of sparked that initial spark?
Well, it's funny, you know, because I tried to work out where it had come from, because I thought it had come from watching the first trailer for the Dresden Files, right?
Oh, yeah.
But when I look back, and I'm thinking, oh, I could do, you know, cops with magic. But when I look back at the actual timing, I don't know why I had the thought. When I look back at the actual timing, the first sort of tentative things that were to become, it was called Magic Cops for a very long time, right? The first things that were tentatively become Magic Cops I'd actually worked on before that. I actually had kind of script notes and stuff that I'd written. And I started it as a TV idea back when I thought I was a TV writer. And I basically wanted to do what would happen if Gandalf joined the Sweeney. That was the basic thing. And this dates me horribly, you see. And this is before Harry Potter took off. So everyone's go-to wizard is now Harry Potter. But when I was doing it, everyone's go-to wizard was either Merlin if you were, a mundane, or Gandalf if you weren't, right? And so I was like Gandalf, and I wanted to do working class wizards. I wanted to do kind of like, oi, put that one down, kind of wizards, we're the wizards, and we haven't had our dinner. It's like I wanted to do it like that, and so I thought, well, I'll do that, and I thought I'll do it as a precinct show. You guys all know what a precinct show is, right? A precinct show is like, so you have a location. The bill is a precinct.
Brooklyn
show.
Nine-Nine.
All shows that involve like a workplace are generally precinct shows. Right, and then you move out of the workplace, but basically your primary set is your workplace. It was going to be a precinct show, and there was going to be a curmudgeonly older wizard, and there was going to be a new age witch wizard, and there was going to be an ethnic tradition from somewhere wizard, and we were going to have the young wizard come in and be introduced to this thing, and it was going to be basically the bill with magic. I looked at it and I went, no one is going to freaking buy this. And I put it to one. So no one was going. No one in television. They hated fantasy and science fiction. They still hate fantasy and science fiction. But now they have to put up. Well, the thing is, you see, the people that run British television really hate it, and they don't understand it because they don't teach it at Eton. So I think what happens is people who found with science fiction books in Eton must be beaten or something. Mm-hmm. That's my theory.
I was just going to say, because
thrashed.
The new Lord of the Rings series on Amazon's like the most expensive TV series ever made. Apparently, it's moving into the sort of like it's $1 billion or something. There's a lot of money going into it.
Yeah, but that's the last successful things fallacy. You see, this is like, it's like that was conceived when Game of Thrones was the hottest thing in town. What have we got? Something like Game of Thrones. I know, Lord of the Rings, someone's done it. Can't do it again. There are letters. Prequels. Yeah, Lord of the Rings prequels.
Well, it just...
And, there'll be enablers, because there'll be people who want to do a Lord of the Rings prequel. They'll be going, oh, yes, it'd be really good to have lots of swords, and it's not boring bunch of elves being tedious and betraying each other in a tedious fashion for 15 freaking chapters. I'm not a big fan of the Silmarillion, to be honest.
I've read it many times. It's a hard read. It's a very hard read.
It was when you read it, it's so obvious he didn't intend anyone to read it. Right? He was basically writing that for, that was essentially his own fan fiction for himself. Right? It was the equivalent of me creating kind of like massive world of Call of Cthulhu scenarios. Yeah. It was his Call of Cthulhu scenario, and it's beautifully done. I mean, the music of Aaronovitch is a beautiful metaphor for creation myth.
Yeah.
But it's tedious, and if you don't like that kind of thing, it's tedious, and all those elves are so annoying. I just
there are some good bits in it. There's some really dark parts in there. Like the one my go-to one in the Silmarillion is the dragon Glaurung, basically telling Turin, was it Turin and Eomer? Oh, what's her name? But it's basically the children of Hurin. Is it Turin and? It begins with an A, which I can't remember. Basically, that they were brother and sister, and that the child that she was bearing is his, and then he sort of dies, and she commits suicide, and it's pretty dark. It's
kind of funny when this is the guy that wrote The Hobbit.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like The Hobbit is a child's book straight through. Lord of the Rings has got some dark-ish parts in it, but it's still sort of that. But the Silmarillion is out and out fucked up at times. It's just
hello.
Yeah. Just like he just went, yeah. This is the sort of thing you could tell he was in the trenches in World War I when he started writing this stuff, because it was just like, yeah, that's dark.
My favorite one of that was when someone said, "What did Tolkien know about terror of war? It's all glamorized." I thought, yeah, he was at the song, bastard. Yeah. More than you. That's what he knew, basically.
It's like the literary version of the story about Christopher Lee, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't make a noise like that.
Yeah, when he stabs somebody, and he's just like,
well, there's a very famous story of William Goldman. No, which one is the composer and which one is the writer? Goldman is the writer, right? William, I'm terrible at this. I keep referring to London the Biography, written by Dan Aykroyd and things like that. And Goldman was talking about they were doing the Battle of Arnhem, and he said, well, he wouldn't run like that. Like the guy who was actually there, who I think he was talking to. It was Frost. It was Frost. Yeah, from A Bridge Too Far. And Frost was talking to the actor who was playing him, and he said, "You can't run that fast. You just couldn't run." And you just think, what kind of mentality is that?
Yeah, that's right. He was like an old school sort of colonel, and he was just like, one wouldn't do that.
You just wouldn't run because your men wouldn't like it if you ran. I wouldn't like it. I'm like, shut.
Just not the done thing, old boy.
Yeah, my men can lump it.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So, if anyone's got some experience of adapting kind of source material and making something new and fresh out of it, it's probably Amazon at the moment, because they've been absolutely killing it with The Boys.
Oh, The Boys is
and
awesome.
with Expanse.
Well, with the Expanse as well.
Yes, with the Expanse, but the boys, I was going. Don't you think that The Boys is like 10 years out of date though in its political satire?
It was written 10 years ago. So
it's all George Bush side. Like, oh, George Bush is an evil man. You think we're way beyond George Bush
we're
now.
Through the looking glass here now, people.
That's why everyone loves it. It's nostalgia. We wish that life was just that fucked up.
Yeah, we wish the fucking corporations were that effective. Fucking hell.
Back in the good old days, when you could properly hate things and expect them to be rational.
Yes.
I felt it's the Boys TV, the comics very much out of date at this point. But the TV series, I felt it's more about the way that kind of corporations present themselves and the elitism behind them, and then just behind the scenes, they're all shit and can't do anything. That's what I
feel they've moved with the zeitgeist, especially in the second season. I think they've kind of gone, we've gone but that's always when you do an adaptation, you're always much more faithful in the first season. That's why Fellowship of the Ring is much more accurate to the books than Two Towers.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because it's like Fellowship of the Ring is like, we shall follow the book. Two Towers, fuck it.
Yeah.
Have some elves turn up.
Yeah. We talked about that with Katie, Katie last week and stuff, and she's like, "It wasn't. It was
Katie Davies."
Did we talk about that?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but the elves now sitting there going. When I watched it in the cinemas, like, was there elves in Helm's Deep? And I'm sitting there kind of going, have I completely missed that chapter or something? And I was like,
no, I totally understood I totally understand the reason for doing that, right? Yeah. I totally understand the reason for doing that, but it's just I just sat there going, okay, fine, elves at Helm's Deep. You see, and the thing is, the thing about the Battle of Helm's Deep is it's a beautifully choreographed medieval siege.
Yeah.
I mean, all that kind of stuff is like straight out of the 14th century. You just sit there going, someone has done their research about how you actually conduct a siege on a fortified position. How you assault a wall and all that kind of with the things with the things on the end that go clunk, and the fact that someone rides up on on the ladder. Someone actually goes up on the ladder at the front and all that kind of stuff. I just thought that's fucking brilliant. And they had poles. Did you notice they had poles to push the ladders up? I just thought, yeah, of course you'd have poles.
It was amazing. It was really good. Like Helm's Deep was, I didn't mind Lord of the Rings because one, I was waiting for it for so long. Having lived Lord of the Rings my entire life, waiting for the films to come out, and then them coming out, I didn't care about the small little deviations and stuff like that. I was just like, don't care. This is just what I wanted for my entire.
That was basically Did you watch the trailers? Going, oh my god!
Yeah, it's like, holy shit! It was like a family tradition thing. It was literally just watch the film. Then next year it was watch the extended edition on DVD. Then go and watch the film, and then it was this literally marathon at the end, and it was just like, oh my god, it was amazing. I remember the first time seeing Lord of the Rings in Manchester's. It was with the comfy seats and stuff. I paid extra for the comfy seats, and I sat there, and I just remember it ending and just standing up and giving it a golf clap and then getting louder, and I was just like amazing. I was just so buzzing off that film.
It's just a very impressive adaptation in its own right. I mean, especially my favorite one is the first one because I think that's the most the most best as a film. I think it's the best one as a film. I think anyway. Lots of other people disagree with me, but I hate them. So I've got to that stage in my life where it's okay. Don't agree with me. Fine. I don't care. I'll be dead soon. Grumble, grumble. It's basically the Victor Meldrew stage of life.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like, go away. Get off my lawn.
Get off of my land.
Get off my land. Get me shotgun. Where's me shotgun?
Did you have any trepidation then about the adaptation of Rivers of London series to TV? Did you worry that if there was a season 2, they'd start throwing all that away? And
No, my trepidation was that I don't know if you've been watching the trailers for The Watch.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness, no.
Yes, I sat there. I was listening to this interview with this guy, and he said, I mean, I particularly hate this one because I hate people being stupid and pretentious at the same time. I thought you can be pretentious and you can be stupid, but being stupid and pretentious. And this guy going, oh, we've gone for this punk song. And I turned, if you've ever watched The Descendants, right? It's the same art direction.
Oh god!
Right, so Disney's Descendants, they are not being innovative and punky.
Yes, it is.
They are just basically stealing the art aesthetic from Disney's Descendants. And if you are stealing from Disney's Descendants, you have fallen low, my friend.
Oh, God. I don't think anyone else on the call has probably got kids, so they probably don't know about Disney's Descendants, but you're absolutely right.
Watch the opening. You don't have to watch it. It's right at the beginning of the first one. That's the depiction of Ankh-Morpork in The Watch. It's the same as the depiction of the island of the evil doers in... Looks exactly the same. It's punk aesthetic with medieval elements. And you sit there going, oh, you're not as clever as you think you are. And the thing is, what annoys me is we are at a position where we could do a watch series. And I don't mind the idea of doing a watch series per se. That's fine. You don't want to adapt the books, do a watch series. If you are going to do one, in fact, The Watch is the one to do as a series, as a police procedural, with a murder every week and a stuff like Occasional Dragon, that's fine. That's a perfectly good kind of like series idea using the characters. That is a good way of doing it because a lot of Terry Pratchett's humor is in the narrative rather than in the interaction between the characters. And so therefore you're going to have to do something, because you can't to get the humor across, to get the actual humor, you may need to stretch it out. Humor is very hard to kind of translate from the internal mind control, like all the puns and stuff that Terry Pratchett puts into his work, and floating in the way with the innocent objection of an iceberg into a major shipping lane. I mean, that's a really difficult thing to actually portray visually, right? So unless you actually have someone, which is what they did in Good Omens, where you just literally just have someone say the lines because they're funny, right? Then that you're going to have to do that, and so therefore, I forgot what I was talking about now. Yeah. So anyway, that's fine. But you could do the dragon, but I wouldn't do the Watch series. I would do it as a CGI. If I was going to do it as a film, I'd do it as a CGI. And the reason for that is then you could make the characters much more exaggerated. So Carrot can be ridiculously handsome, and Vimes and Nobby can be ridiculously ugly in a way that you just can't get actors to do. A live action actor just wouldn't look right. I mean, they've tried to do it, but it's hard to do. They made a stab at it with Hogfather and the other ones, but it's very difficult to actually do, to make Ankh-Morpork come alive as a live action thing, because it's so exaggerated, and all the trolls and everything, and then you don't have to worry about the fact that Detrius looms over everyone and all that kind of stuff, and it will just make much more sense. And you could have Sybil Ramkin could be a huge lady with a big bosom, and a wig. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the trailer for the Watch, and I thought, yes, I'd watch it, except that I know I read the book it's based on, and this isn't it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you completely ignored all the Pratchett elements that was supposed to be there and just took it as visually as is, it looks a lot of fun. But when you say, oh, it's the Watch, it's by Terry Pratchett, it's Walkwell, going, really?
Yeah, I'm not going to reward them by watching it. They're not going to get no money from me, even indirectly.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Especially when his daughter comes out and just says, "Yeah, well, anyway."
Yes. So, but by way of that, I use that by way of an awful warning.
Yeah.
That's
You
fair.
know, this could be you on the one hand, money on the other hand, dreadful watch.
Yeah, so how much involved are you with the TV series?
Well, if there was a TV series, you see, I had a very, very good contract that basically said I was totally involved. And this is a double-edged sword because, of course, say, for example, you know, I sold it to Amazon and Amazon took it away and did something horrible with it. I would just sit here and go, Americans, what do you expect? Right? But if you're actually contractually an executive producer, which I am, you know, with like veto powers and realistic consultation, which is what it says in contract or something like that, and it goes like, then if it's crap, it's going to be my fault.
Yeah.
Right, which I suddenly thought, shit, I should have just walked away. Like they say, take the money and run. Maybe I should have just taken the money and run. Right, I would have saved myself a lot of pain and suffering.
Like George R. R. Martin.
One of the reasons why it hasn't been made yet, because it's like been in development with several people now for about 10 years since it came out, basically, is because I want control.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, it's not very popular. My series is not very popular in America.
Okay.
You see, so it's not very popular. It's okay, but in America, I'm strictly mid-list. I'm not like, you know, hugely popular. And so therefore, this is a very expensive series, as we've stated. What with 240 extras throwing Molotov cocktails at each other in Bow Street, right? Not to mention the 6 Jags you will need. 6 Mark II freaking 1967 Jags, which is like each one worth about £400,000 each. And one for just running into things, remember? So it's a very expensive show. It's a couple of million per episode. It's not a cheap show. More than that, in fact, I think they were talking about. So it has to have American money. And as soon as the Americans come in, they're going to want to know what's it all about. And they don't get most of it. Because if they did, I'd be more popular in America.
Yeah.
It's very British. It's very British style, isn't it?
Well, it's. I got to admit that I deliberately make it as British as possible, just to annoy Americans.
No offense to our American listeners, by the way.
I love them. No, I love Americans. Right? I love America. Okay, I love America. I've devoured American culture from the get go, and I'm a more generous bunch of nicer people, right, as you can meet. But the bloody I resent the kind of the cultural. No, I resent the cultural imperialism. There's no other real word for it. Of the situation where I'm in, where I am faced with a cultural power that just obliterates everything in its path. All right, and they don't mean to do it, but it's rather like dealing with toddlers. They don't mean to, poo on the steps, but they do, and it's and you love them. But they're just huge toddlers, a bit like Paprika, really. And this metaphor has gone completely out of control.
Well, they escalated quickly.
Anyway, before I alienate everyone in America, I just like to say, so I make it as British as possible because that's more fair to Americans. I read too many things where British authors are kind of patronizingly catering to Americans, and I don't think it's fair on Americans. I don't expect them to cater to me when I'm reading Ed McBain novel. I don't expect him to suddenly put things in that I will change things that I will understand them. And I don't think Americans really want us to do that. I just think they're executives who, remember, are gibbons, not actually people, really, in a lot of cases.
That's fair.
But in fact, strategically shaved gibbons. Put in a suit, to quote Terry Pratchett. And so therefore I basically it's also like, and also part of it's Peter Grant, who's just a very annoying person. So he's the narrator, remember? So he does everything in kilometers because he knows it annoys people who use miles and ounces and pounds. So that's why he does everything in meters and kilograms, because he knows it. Because he's a traveler fan, so he doesn't believe in. He doesn't believe in doing imperial measurements, and so therefore, he does that. So people go, but why does Reynolds use feet and inches? Because she's American, she uses feet and inches. People use what they use. So I deliberately write it, and I also throw in as much slang as possible.
That's true.
Yes, thank you.
How does Chris?
I'm not English. I'm not a native English speaker, so sometimes I was like, what's going on here? So I had to look it up.
I did offer the American. Well, I did offer the Americans footnotes, and they said no.
What about Romanians though? Christina's Romanian, so
well, the footnotes would have been good for you because they were kind of bland footnotes. But in this days of Google, you can. It's not like the old days when, like, if you didn't understand something, you either worked it out from context or you just went without. Go to bed without your supper. But most people can work things out from context. Unless they work for the Times Literary Supplement, who seem to have a bit of a problem with that. But what can you do? I think they get beaten. I don't know. I think that the English regime the English language regime in Eton must be a bit weird, given the way the product is. The people I keep running into.
I was just thinking that 2 of your books were already translated to Romanian. So if I don't understand something, I can just go get those.
Yeah, and you can tell me whether the translation's any good, because it's like really weird thing is, like, for translations, you never know if the translation's any good or not.
I will have to check because I read them in English, but I will look in a bookstore.
I would be very interested. I love it when I get translated into other languages, though. You get wonderful covers. Like the Czech covers are just insane Czech covers that they do.
I wonder how many diplomatic incidents have occurred because of bad translations.
Well, it's a difficult job, and the trouble with being English, of course, is everyone else speaks English. So you're basically this kind of like stupid idiot baby that walks into a room and everyone goes, "Oh, look, he can't even speak 5 languages. What a ignoramus he is too." And you go, "Well, I speak English quite well." Yeah, everybody does, even the Swedes.
Let's say Christina, her English is better than mine. I'm a native English speaker.
Yeah,
the thing is that
it really
English
is.
often worse because we don't get taught here properly. I remember when I was younger doing a German exchange and being the only person in the room that was above the 15th part of 30 people, and it was half and half English and German kids, and so all the English kids were at the bottom, with one particularly stupid German kid who fell behind me.
Well, I bet he felt bad.
Yeah.
I'm behind all the English.
Yeah, I can't do languages. I can learn swear words and a couple of chat up lines in different languages, and I'll probably be about that.
You can't say my name properly, so we.
Yeah, I just
You've known it for how long?
My girlfriend's Polish, and all I know is the Borat stuff, because Borat's actually speaking Polish, so awawawiwa and dziękuję and things like that. They're Polish sayings, like jak się masz.
But that's because you and the Poles share the same thing of not spelling your names correctly. Everybody else spells their name phonetically except for you and the Poles. So that you deserve each other. That's what I say.
What I want to ask then is, like, how did the comics come about?
Oh, well, that was me flexing. That was me flexing because, like, you get to a certain point where you go, "Oh, look, I've got a bit of power. How can I use it to my own advantage? What have I always wanted to do?" And I thought, I can use my IP. I've always wanted to write comics, so I thought I can use my IP to write comics. And so I basically went to Titan and went, "Look, here's my IP. It's very popular. Would you like a comic?" "Yes, you would." "Yes, you would like a comic." "Yes, you would." "I have to write it." And I went, "Oh, all right then." And that was it. And it was great. Although they were very good, it was much more kind of considered than that. But it was like, and it was, so I basically used my flexi. It's amazing because you spend so much time of your in the creative industries not having any power at all, right? Basically, especially when you're a writer, which is like the lowest of the low of the low at the bottom of the heap, and then suddenly you get a little bit of power. You go a bit power mad. Only strawberry Smarties. and so you must use it for good. With great power comes great responsibility. So I used it to get myself a gig writing comics because I always wanted to.
Living the dream.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
fun,
also the
that.
thing about comics, you can do things that you can't do in books and vice versa. So I enjoy the flexibility that comics gives you. I enjoy the things that you can because the books are all written from the first person. So therefore, you can't follow other characters. So you can do that in the comics, and basically, I just kind of like pretended I was Alan Moore and got to it. That's how I do most things. I pretend I'm somebody else. I pretended I was William Gibson for quite a long time in my early career.
Oh, William Gibson's fantastic.
And now I'm pretending William Gibson's slightly less talented brother. I like to think of myself as, and now I think of myself as Alan Moore's kind of like an Alan Moore tribute act.
Well, I was going to say.
Unlike Alan Moore, I don't have an argument with the publisher.
Yes.
2.5
Wise.
volumes in, and then abandon it. I have not forgiven him. I wanted to know what happened next in Tom Strong. I did.
Yeah.
And I'm cross. And top 10. Never mind Tom Strong. Bloody top. Sorry.
Have you read Providence and Neonomicon by Alan Moore?
No. I haven't read that. All From Hell either. I haven't read that.
Yeah, basically, Neonomicon and Providence is Alan Moore's take on Lovecraft and Cthulhu.
Ooh,
yeah,
good.
Fantastic. Some of his best writing.
I quite like a comedy take on Cthulhu. You see, my problem is I can't stay serious for any length of time.
Yeah.
So,
well, have you read any Charlie Strauss's? That's basically IT and British bureaucracy against Lovecraftian horrors.
Oh, Charlie Strauss is the bane of my life because I sat there and I went, I shall write a novel about, I shall write a police procedural magic, and like someone said, what you mean like the atrocity
archives?
And I went, what's that? He said, this guy called Charlie Strauss has written a book about the. Oh, shit. It's a bit like the Dresden Files. Oh, go away! I don't want to know. No, literally, I was working in Waterstone's Covent Garden while I was writing the first book, and a guy came in, said, "Hi, you run the science fiction section?" I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "I've got this book. It's a murder mystery a magical murder mystery set in Covent Garden." That was Mike Shevden, right? 61 Nails. I was like, you bastard! I was like, what is it? Has everyone decided to write a magical murder mystery set in bloody Covent Garden just because I decided to? And so you do. And I was like, I got turned down by an agent because they said, we've already got a supernatural detective series. I went, what's that? It was Alan Rickman, not Alan Rickman.
That would be amazing, though.
Yeah.
Somebody Rickman. Oh, God, I'm friends with him and I've forgotten his name.
I hate when that happens.
But Merrily Watkins series set in Herefordshire. So
you alienated the Scottish, the American, and the unnamed friend.
I will get on to the rest of Europe.
He's just gonna go.
I don't know. See the chat?
Yeah, I saw the chat. Are those the Romanian covers then?
Yep, the Romanian covers of the 2 books that were translated.
Oh, nice.
They're very good looking.
I do very well in 2 countries, right? Apart from Britain. I do very well in Germany and I do very well in the Czech Republic. And everywhere else, I'm kind of...
Okay.
I mean, the French gave it a good shot, but they just like, no, I was like, no, we don't want them too English. Right.
It's mad that you sort of like were how people take to stuff. Like when in my band, which we haven't done anything in ages because of lockdown and getting older and stuff, but we are not, the rock and roll dream definitely died, but we still sort of, we still fight that we're still doing it. But our album, we got really good reviews from America, from Holland. They loved us in Holland, France. Germany hated us, like literally vitriolically hated us. And I was just like, why are they? I don't understand why they hated us so much. But it's like everybody else seemed to really enjoy it. And we got some really amazing reviews. But Germany, like the highest rating we got from a German reviewer was a 6, I think, out of 10. And it was like, they just did not like it. And I'm not sure if it was because the cover of it was like a black eagle on a red background. And it was maybe too sort of kind of... sort of something like that. Yeah, but it was just like, it was
just reminded me, Matt, I've just gone and followed you on Spotify because I absolutely love that album. I remember I had it in my car for years and he's just put it on when I was driving.
It's a good album.
It turned into Queen's greatest hits.
Yeah, it's a good album. I'm very proud of the album. I'm very sad.
I couldn't resist that.
But Germany, it's mad how like that just people don't sort of take to certain things.
People who go, oh, do they not? You know, you see, there's always a tendency to get very nationalistic about it and go like, oh, maybe it's just too good for the Germans or good for the Americans. But the thing is that people like some things don't translate very well. Even into countries where they speak the same language ostensibly. Right, and it just didn't click with the Americans. You know, I would love to click with the Americans because then I'd have even more money. But you know,
it probably will. It eventually will. Probably they have a habit of sort of being a bit behind.
I think I'm going to end up being a Terry Pratchett tribute act because I think I'm going to be like really big-ish in Britain and elsewhere, terribly and unknown in America, and I'm never going to get the covers right.
There are worse people you could be associated with, I suppose. Though.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I'd love to be. I'd love to have Terry Pratchett sales. Oh, thank you very much. That'd be me. Oh, thank you. I'll be Britain's #1 best-selling author for 10 years running till J.K. Rowling came along, or something like that. Something ridiculous like that.
She's not exactly covering herself in glory at the minute, is she?
No, and the moral of that story is stay off the internet.
Yeah.
That's my moral.
Yeah.
Do not.
She has become Dolores Umbridge, to be fair.
Say it again? She has what?
She has become Dolores Umbridge.
No, you just choose the hill you die on. That's what I say, and preferably don't die on the hill. That's my motto. Peter Grant would say, "Don't die on the hill." Never mind the hill you die on. Don't get up on the bloody hill in the first place. Then you won't die on it.
I suppose though, when you're as rich as she is, you can choose which hill you die on and pay other people to die for you.
You can just cry yourself to sleep in your bed of millions. Oh, I'm so sad. Wiping your eyes with £20 notes. Oh,
it's really funny, but I don't think the thing about being a writer is money doesn't. You don't get money in the same. It's not like being Bill Gates. Right, it's like you don't have power in the same way. Like someone like Bill Gates has power in an unimaginable levels of power. Bezos has unimaginable. Elon Musk has unimaginable levels of ego, and they have power in a very specific way because of their money. But if you're a writer, you're basically still doing the same thing you were doing like 30 years ago when you were broke, and all that changes is that you have slightly fewer distractions. That's all that changes, and people want you to go to more meetings. It's like you're still doing day in, day out. You're still doing the same thing. You're still sitting down in front of a word processor, banging it, going, "What the fuck happens next?" Right? Why can't I write more than 5 words in a row? Whereas, because when you're a writer, you can't, unless you're Patterson, obviously, you can't get somebody else to do it.
or Clancy.
Or Clancy. Well, yes, but that's because he was.
Well, he got the hang of it just before he went as well, didn't he? I think this is probably a good idea. I can make some money out of that. Let's get someone to do it for me. I'll put my name on the front.
You see, the thing is, with these things, you see, with Clancy, I suspect it was the people around him. Who did that? I mean, he probably, with his acceptance, but there's a lot of pressure on that. The TV series, in a way, is like, oh, let us take your franchise and do stuff with it. That's they're kind of, you have the same thing, but it's, the temptation is always there. But the thing is I feel for writers because writers don't actually, their lifestyle does not actually change that much. Your house gets bigger if you're lucky. Mine isn't. I'm still in the same flat, right? I think I'm just getting to the point because I live in London. You see, I'll have to be a lot richer before I can move.
You live in a mansion. Have you moved up north?
Yeah, well, you say that, but then I'd be living up north.
There's nothing wrong with living up north.
There's nothing wrong, but I'm a Londoner. This is the thing, right? Nobody ever expects Londoners to be loyal to London. It's like they're always like totally shocked. Oh, you're loyal to London? How can that be? If I was from someone's, because I keep getting asked this question. This is a question that comes a lot of interviews. Why do you set your books in London? Where the hell do you think I'm going to? If I was from bumfuck Manchester, and I set my books in the small community of bumfuck, right? And like intimate stories of life amongst, I don't know, wherever they do up there, right? I've now alienated the masses. Well done.
Irish and in Manchester, wow.
Right, it's just south of bumfuck, in fairness.
Yes, right. No, but if I was from there, no one would ask me that question. They wouldn't say, why do you set your books in BF? BF Manchester, they would think the opening line would be, as a proud Manc, he sets his books in the hills and derelict coal faces of his youth, but when you're from London, everyone wants to know why you're setting your stuff in London, as if it's like a sin. You set yourself in London, you evil man.
I suppose you do get a loyalty. Like I am, Manchester's been my home for I've lived in Manchester now longer than I lived in Northern Ireland, so I've been here over 20 years now, and I do have as much as I'm technically Cheshire now. I'm not Greater Manchester anymore because I'm slightly I'm Cheshire now, but I've still got a loyalty towards Manchester.
You're posh.
Yeah, I'm in Cheshire, darling. Yes.
You're in Hollyoaks now.
Yeah.
A reference that I know, and I'm sorry that I do.
I missed that. You broke up at
I said that Hollyoaks is a reference that I know and that I'm sorry that I do.
I actually only know it because one of those references I know by osmosis, when you know something, because it's like the Kardashians. I have scrupulously avoided learning about the Kardashians, but I know the Kardashians exist and one of them's got a bum. This is like the extent of my knowledge about the Kardashians, right?
Only one of them, though. Only one.
And I think, and that's all I know about the Kardashians, and I've actually made an effort not to learn anymore. But it's like Hollyoaks. Yeah, I never saw Hollyoaks. I just know it was done by the same guy that did Brookside. That's all I know about it.
Rookie,
really.
I'm arresting you for
when I first heard
murder.
about the Kardashians, I assumed they were talking about the Cardassians.
Yes,
And to be fair, I realised there was very little difference.
Yes, Girls did have a nice arse. It has to be said.
But the Kardashians were probably a little bit less scary overall.
Yes, well, probably had more morals as well. Really,
And less plastic surgery apart from the one in Voyager.
I've got the bloody Hollyoaks theme tune in my head now.
See, no. My one's Brookside. The bloody fanfare for the common bloody man. Bloody hell! Get out of my head! Ah!
For my sins, I know more than I should know about Hollyoaks because my other half's addicted to it. It's her only vice.
Well,
Means, and the other, I think it was a couple of months back, they did it was the anniversary, so they played the very first ever Hollyoaks.
Is it still on?
Yeah, it's still running.
My
My
God!
goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, they played the very first ever Hollyoaks, and so my other half watched it because she missed it. I remember seeing it because I was still a student back then, and I was hammered the night before and hungover. And you're like, what's this all about? And the TV's still on, and oh God, no, don't do it, don't don't ever go back there.
I can't do soaps because I can't cope with the relentless depressingness of them. In that nobody ever achieves any kind of triumph without becoming sooner or later like going down into the pits again, and so therefore it's just like, no, I want my characters to have their moment of triumph that I want to cut away. Never hear about it again.
Oh God, no! That moment of triumph is just being held up so that everyone can watch while they smack you in the head with a sledgehammer.
Exactly. I can't cope with that. I just can't. I mean, I used to watch EastEnders when it first started.
Ooh, boy.
I watched EastEnders because it was like, oh, this is a new thing, and then after a while, I just went, I can't go with it anymore.
Yeah, my mum watches that religiously, like all the time.
I was once asked to write some TV listings many years ago, and I was asked to write a TV listing for Hollyoaks, and I just found what I wrote about it. So, if you'll all indulge me, I shall begin. Unbelievably, this series is still going, despite never having answered the key question, why does everyone look exactly the same? Warren's death is the crisis around which much of the drama revolves, but frankly, who cares? This is true car crash television. But you're in at this time, quite frankly, what else are you going to watch? For some reason, they didn't print it.
No, I'm shocked. My God, it started in 1995. Just pulled up the Wikipedia.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The first season aired in Romania. That's how I heard about Hollyoaks. I actually watched the first season
Wow.
when it started, like 95, 90, whatever. I was 10. And then I saw, like 3 years ago, I was in London and it was on TV. And I was like, holy crap.
Yep.
It's
Still
there.
going.
It's one of those shows that I think at the time it
God,
kept
it's
going
sponsored
through
by
inertia.
Nescafe.
Sponsored by Nescafe.
Was it dubbed in
back.
Romania, Christina, or was it subtitles?
Subtitles. We don't do dubbing
Good.
unless it's for like cartoons for children.
That's the same thing the Swedes do. Swedish, not the Swedens. That's the same.
There's another European country going off the list.
No. The thing about Sweden that makes it scary is that because they never dub any, they don't allow. It's actually illegal. You're not allowed to dub films and television into Swedish, which must be cruel for all those Swedish actors who don't get any work. But never mind. It's why their English is so good. So I did a convention in Sweden, and it's the only convention I've done abroad in a foreign language where I could do subtle jokes. And they would get them. They would get all the kind of like little wink, wink, nudge, nudge jokes that would go over the head of a German audience because the English is good, but it's not that good.
Yeah.
For you to do it. And it was quite terrifying, really, that their English was, like you say, better than mine. Depressing.
It is very sad when somebody, their second language can speak English a lot better than you can. You're like, and write it as well. And you're just like,
At one point, I was learning French on the basis that that's the best way to annoy the French is to speak French to them. Because it just really annoys them. It used to, like whatever you say about Tony Blair, it just used to really annoy the French that he could speak French. And I feel that something I wanted to do. But then I didn't do very well in France, so I switched to German. It's totally mercenary, and I know I love German and Germany, and I like going.
Well,
to
English
Germany,
is a Germanic language, isn't it? So there's.
Oh yeah, but it doesn't have like the bloody personal pronouns change depending on where they are in the fucking sentence. Bastards. Why is it den? Why is it den? Why has it become den?
Yeah, I remember that's why I gave up on German as well. It's like I don't need to know what gender a table is. Like
the gender I can cope with. I can cope with gender. Gender's fine. That's the
positional as well.
It's what the proposition is. The pronouns change. The pronouns change it where it's due to the position in the sentence, and I still haven't figured out how. And does it do that in Romanian as well?
We have genders, and yes, they do. All the words change depending on where you're using them. Sometimes.
Unlike Czech, which is even worse, right? Czech, when you're signing books, and in German, I sign books and I put für, which means F umlaut U R meaning for instead of for, because I think I'm in Germany, B is the Germans, but you can't do that in Czech Republic because in Czech, if you put the Czech beginning, then the name changes. You have to change the end of someone's name. So they tell you a name, and then you have to change the end of their name depending on the honorific or the thing that you put in front of it. And so my translator, my friend, had to stand going, spelling the names, which is just as well. But that was quite fun. And I didn't even know that was a thing. So
yeah, my girlfriend's
countries, I think.
My girlfriend's Polish, and I have not learnt any Polish whatsoever because it's super hard. I had to sort of look at sort of like Polish words, and there's like so many different variants of just one word, and you're just like, there's so many Z's and Y's and things, and you're just like, I'm never gonna get this.
Well, it's like each language has its own particular thing that for foreigners to hate, right? Like English. It's the inconsistency in spelling, pronunciation, and vocabulary, right?
Because English isn't a language; it's like 15 languages stood on each other's shoulders in a trench coat, lugging other languages.
But it's like, why is it rotten? Why is it totally inconsistent? Why is it window? Why? Why is it women? Why is it women? Why isn't it women? Men's. Why isn't it men's? Why isn't it man's?
But the thing is, it's not just English; it's where you come from to speak English. I saw a good article that post someone wrote the other day about Australia, about a guy who was trying to teach German to Australians, and I think it was German. It was one of the languages where he was saying that the problem is for Australians, of course, the more respectful you are to people, the more you hate them. So he was trying to teach them things like how you use honorifics and things like that, and they were getting really freaked out. They're like, but I don't want to call him like Mister. I want to do this. No, you don't understand. If you're really informal to someone who's important, they're going to be insulted and walk away. Well, that's not very nice, is it?
Amazingly, yes, her Dr. Professor.
Yeah.
Let's take it very seriously.
Yeah, the guy.
English? The Mr. Doctor Professor thing.
Yeah, no, they actually say, you say Dr. Professor. I can't remember. Someone taught me that. I mean, it's German has become a lot more informal over the last 30 years because you don't use everyone is now her and or Frau. You don't use Fraulein or I don't know what the other one was. You don't use a lot of the more formal language, and people are no longer Doctor Professor something unless they're big. Unless they're writing out their CV, they don't put Doctor. You don't refer to people. Hi, Mr. Doctor Professor, and things like that. Which is we're raised on kind of World War II dramas, and so therefore we want to call everyone Achtung!
Ich verstehe.
And apparently they don't talk like that anymore. I always remember that the German for mobile phone is handy, and I always remember Stephen Fry doing his piss take in Germans. Wo ist mein Handy? And that puts me weirdly that allows me to put myself so that I can pronounce German correctly, because it stops you from doing all the stereotypes. Because it's a completely different set of stereotypes, but it's like it breaks your kind of stereotypes. Like, wo ist mein Handy?
Yeah, the only German I know is from war movies, so I know Ich verstehe and Was ist los and things like that.
Schnell.
Yeah, so if it's in a war movie, I probably know it, but other than that, I don't. Or meine Wassermelone ist kaputt. I was in Hamburg and I found a broken watermelon, so I stood beside it and said that, and I went, I've used the phrase, my watermelon is broken, and I found the watermelon that was broken, and I was like, there we go, that's what it was for. Brilliant.
I'm proud of you.
I know, I was very proud of myself. There's a photograph of me in Hamburg on my knees going, meine Wassermelone ist kaputt.
My problem is that I've spent all this time learning German, right? But every time I go to Germany, my French, which I was compulsorily taught for 10 years, which I thought hadn't gone in by any part of my brain, will emerge and ambush my German. So I always sit in a cafe. It just goes, you're in foreign. Therefore, it's avec. Say avec. You're in foreign now. So I go.
God.
So you say, I'm a cafe bitter, right? And they go, and instead of saying mit sugar, you go avec sucre. Ah, shit!
Oh, the problems of being multilingual,
You speak so many different languages, though, that, they just get all confused.
Yes, the Germans have no sense of humour about it. Unless you're in the Alsace region, I suppose, and then they probably just think you're weird.
Yeah. They probably do have sense of humour, only once you're no longer present while they're taking the piss out of you.
I don't know. It's very hard to tell with the Germans. They have a sense of... The idea that the Germans don't have a sense of humour is extremely wrong, right? They have an incredibly dry... I mean, we think we're sarcastic. The English think they're sarcastic, but my God, the Germans are like, you say something and you go, are they being sarcastic or are they not being sarcastic? I can't tell. Yes, well, in England, I'm sure you like the weather. Are you being sarcastic or are you just being German? I can't tell the difference. My mum was like that, who to her dying day claimed that she didn't know the meaning of the word sarcasm. And we think she was being sarcastic when she said it. Because she used to say things like, I just love being rained on. And you think, that's sarcasm. That's got to be sarcasm. Ah! We grew up a bit strange, my family.
What was your mother German?
No, my mother.
I was going to say.
No, my mother. Actually, my mother was from Lancashire. Well, her family was from Lancashire.
Well, there you go, Northern Lass.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, posh. So that's the dirty little secret that the North doesn't like to admit is the sheer number of posh provincials that come down and run the country, and they like to pretend they all come from like the South, but actually, if you look at the cabinet at the moment, it's staffed with people who went to posh schools in the North.
Damn you, North.
Yes, you bloody Northerners with your poshness. If you've ever been to Harrogate, right? Harrogate, my God, I went to Harrogate and I walked past 3 posh bathroom shops. And at first I thought it was one posh bathroom shop. right? But no, it was 3 separate posh bathroom shops right next to each other. And I thought, what kind of a town has 3 posh bathroom shops? I mean, it's not a big town, and it has 3 posh bathroom shops. Do you go there and go, I didn't like the ones in that one. I'll go to the one next door.
I'm taking my money next door. I don't like what you've got.
Yes, I don't like your avocado creme de fraiche or whatever the bloody thing is. I don't do this sort of stuff. I'm colourblind anyway. So.
Just go to Middlesbrough. That's not posh at all.
No, I got John Lewis. I love that. No, I'm not posh. I got a John Lewis. That's my standards. My standards. I've gone up from MFI to IKEA, and now I'm in John Lewis. And the only way up from there is you actually get a designer in, and he sources them from third parties. Sources your material from third parties. That's where you go after John Lewis, basically. It's terrible.
Well, maybe if the TV series takes off, you can get there, Ben.
No, I will never become that person.
You totally will.
I will never. I
will send you this I will send you this podcast when you're sitting there.
I will because I forgot. It's too late. You see, if that had happened in my 30s, yeah, totally. Right, but I'm in my 50s now. Once you hit your 50s, that's basically it as far as personal development goes. Right. That's it, because I suddenly got all this money, right? Like 10 years ago, I had a successful book. After a long period of not having a successful book, I had a successful book. And I woke up one morning, I could go to Barbados. I went to Barbados just because I could go to Barbados. I could afford to fly a plane to Barbados. First class, I might add, right? Stay in a nice hotel. I didn't like it. I came back and I just thought, I'm not doing that again.
You got the guilt.
I thought, it's too late. It's too late. You would have really enjoyed that in your 30s, but you just don't want to do it. No, it wasn't even guilt. It was just like, could have been better. That was a long flight, I don't like going down the shops. I have to go all the way down to Heathrow and then on a plane. And no, let's not do that again.
All the way to Heathrow.
But my God, you find out why posh people are grumpy. Right? Because they get off, you go first class on something like BA first class, and it's so pampered. Like you have this room, lovely, lots of room, and then you get off at the other end and you're stuck in the bloody passport queue with everyone else. It must make you fires. Get out of my way, plebs. And you think, this is why they're so grumpy all the time and entitled, because they just they spend half their time being pampered and the other half getting their chins kicked. I'm sure the people that pamper them would kick their shins if they could.
Absolutely.
I know I would. I have a weird proletarian field around me, so basically stewardesses and they know I'm not supposed to be there, so they're horrible to me usually. Or it could be I'm a large fat man. There's something about being a large fat man. People always look at you like, why are you taking up so much room? I don't know. And also, could you move over? We need to trim the plane. Happened to a friend of mine flying to Stornoway.
Really?
Yes, on one of those little prop planes, and there was 2 large people. They said, "Could you not sit on the same side?"
Oh shit! Wow, that's really bad.
I thought, yay! You should have run up and down, going, "Ha! Trim this out!"
That's like the next level up from the joke about the scales that say one at a time, isn't it?
Well, I always like the joke from Monster Zoo. You've got your own weather system. And then you have your own weather. I just love that. It's a joke.
You've been saying that you've been watching a lot of sort of Star Wars Rebels and stuff like that. Have you catch the Mandalorian at all?
Yeah, of course I caught the bloody Mandalorian. It's Friday morning. Quick, the Mandalorian.
Yep.
And now it's Discovery. Was I supposed to do something today? No, not really.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah.
So yeah, my only trouble with the Mandalorian is I spent the first season going, which Kurosawa film are we doing today?
Yeah.
And now we're doing Sorcerer. Okay, I got it. Frankenheimer films. Which Frankenheimer film are we doing today?
And the one thing that really bugs me, well, I said this last week, in general in Star Wars films and in The Mandalorian, it's just stormtroopers are fucking useless. They're just absolutely, that guy that stormtrooper with the auto rifle who's sitting there blasting away at Boba Fett, and he gets run over by a boulder, and it's just like, you're just like, dude, move out of the way, and it's just like, and the other ones are just coming and getting absolutely obliterated by a stick with this armor that's completely pointless, and it's just like, you know, and
you do have to wonder what the armor is for, don't you? I mean, it's not ablative, it doesn't protect you from anything. What the hell is it for?
It looks cool.
Yeah,
this week's when he's wearing the Imperial armor and he goes to block the blow, and the armor just shatters.
Yeah. And that's it. Well, because he's so used to having his armor, which he can deflect like lightsabers with, and then he sort of it smashes. That was a really good episode. That last one was really good. But yeah, the only time I've seen a blaster ricochet off armor is in the last Star Wars film, in the Rise of Skywalker, when a Sith trooper gets blasted and it sort of kind of ricochets off, and that's it. That's the only time I've seen that happen, and it's just like, why did you not do that more often? Why is it one shot to the ass?
Because that was red armor, and the Stormtroopers is white armor.
Yeah, it's just
he had the executive armor, you see.
Yeah.
He had the upgrade package.
But you do sit there going, like, their small unit tactics are shit.
Yeah, they really are.
I mean, my God, they're shit. I mean, like, you know, you just think any modern army would just take them out. Like, in fact, quite a lot of not very modern armies would take them out in no time, because they've got no unit cohesion. They don't bloody move in leaps and bounds. They don't cover each other. They don't do any of the things that you'd expect an actual uniform body of people with, you know, and they don't. And also, it's the same thing in like things like it's like watching Avengers Endgame, right? I was watching Avengers Endgame, and I just went, and you're going to charge at each other. That's your tactics, right?
Yeah.
Right. Half of you have got energy weapons, right? You should be sitting there. One half of you should be protecting the ones with the energy weapons while they mow down the rest of the other half.
Yeah, that's the one thing that frustrates me, especially in films and stuff, where they just sort of charge at each other, and I'm like, but you're a formation. You're not getting any benefits now. You've all intermingled, and it's just like all the guys with the sort of the ranged weapons have literally shot one volley and then let everybody else charge in, and it's just like... It's
like yeah, we all returned to the 17th century. That's what we're basically doing. We've gone back to the 17th century, except we've forgotten to bring the bloody pikemen with us.
It's ridiculous.
You know, but I mean, I said that if I was doing it, my mindset would be to bring in someone to do small unit tactics, someone who knew what they were doing, and get them to train my stormtroopers to kind of move like at least a little bit.
Well, it's like there was something like it's like I said it last week. It's just like I like my bad guys to be formidable in some way, shape, or form. If they're literally getting picked off by teddy bears with sticks and stones, it's just like they're not formidable. They're not a legion. They're not really sort of scary, and it sort of kind of downgrades the hero's sort of plight, because they're not actually that sort of scary to deal with, because you know you can wipe out an entire platoon with a stick, and it's just like it's annoying.
Or a rock.
Or a rock. Yes, it's like hitting them in the face. There's no padding in those things, obviously, because they're getting concussions by hitting them in the face with sticks and stuff, and it's just
yes, we could go on for some time.
Budget cut to the Empire recently.
Yeah, well, that's it. But yeah,
the thing is that I think part of it is just the nature of sort of trying to film something that's cinematic, because it would not have been as cinematic and interesting if you get to the end of Avengers Endgame and they're just taking pot shots at each other and the melee fighters are just blocking shots, and it's like 5 hours of that until someone finally breaks through the ranks.
Well, no, I mean,
some flanking maneuvers.
Bloody, what's his name had the right idea. He gets his artillery involved, and they nearly lost because Thanos went, "Oh, I've got artillery. Let me use it," and then he uses it, and they nearly lost because he used his artillery. And if one woman nuclear weapon hadn't turned up, that would have been it for them, really. Well, I love that opening though. That's the best superhero entrance anyone has ever made, where they just like, you just see the ship explode, and she just flies out of the explosion. I just thought, whoa, okay, right, I get it. I'm not a big Miss Marvel. I didn't know anything about Miss Marvel. Is it Miss Marvel?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, Miss Marvel is the beginning one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't know anything about Captain Marvel until the film came out. So I was like, oh my God, that's what they're talking about. Right, okay, I understand Miss Marvel. Captain Marvel.
But Shazam in DC used to be called Captain Marvel, didn't they? And then they had they changed his name to Shazam.
Belonged to somebody else, and they bought the company. and then there was a copyright issue that DC kind of got invited to leave the room for, if I recall.
I love those two and their rivalry. It just makes me laugh. One of them can make films, the other one can't.
Yeah, that's it.
Big TV shows.
Yeah, well, the TV shows.
Well, in a way, actually, one of the reasons is, like I said, the TV shows are less Gibbony. You see, this is why. Marvel have managed to at least get, if they have got a Gibbon problem, they've at least managed to kind of like put them in cages. Whereas I feel if we watch the DC films, it's very obvious that the Gibbons are running the show in the DC films. And so occasionally you get a good one, but mostly it's just kind of like, oh no, what if he suddenly grew horns? Yes, that would be brilliant. Let's have him grow horns. Yes. We want to see.
I think Marvel had the advantage. Sorry, Christina.
No, sorry. I was just saying that since we were talking about DC, the whole thing with why did you say that name when it's Martha, and I'm like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, we got the new version, the Zack Schneider remake of Justice League coming on to HBO Max at some point soon.
I can't be bothered.
Yeah,
It's going to be just as bad. I'm sorry.
I part of me just wants it to be better, slightly better, because I'm one of these sort of die-hard, because I love Man of Steel. I super loved. I thought it was so good. I know people were sort of iffy about it, but I loved it. I thought it was really good. And I just wanted those films to be better. And I think, as I've said millions of times, I think Ben Affleck as Batman is amazing. I think he's an amazing.
No, I thought Ben Affleck was really good. I'm really angry is the fact that Ben Affleck was wasted.
Yeah, he was completely wasted. He was
completely wasted as Batman. I mean, and the reason why I love Ben Affleck was that bit when you remember they did the adverts when they did he was like pretending to be corporate Bruce Wayne. That sold me on him as Bruce Wayne, and I think he's the most successful Bruce Wayne. I really just believe with this slick kind of corporate thing with a kind of like vicious underneath the bit, that I just kind of really bought that with Ben Affleck, and I thought he was good, but I think he was unfortunate in his choice of directors.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? It's just. But the thing is, he's coming back. Apparently, he's going to do this. He's going to do a series for HBO. So he's not gone completely as Batman. So who knows how it goes? I'm just going to be interested to see the new is it the Flash movie where they're going to have
Into the Batverse.
Yeah, so you're going to have like Keaton and I think even Ben Affleck. So you're going to have different Batmen. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Jesus, they're going to have to roll out Loki pretty quickly to get ahead of that wave.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it?
That's usually where they're going, because Spider-Man's doing the same thing, isn't it? They're bringing back Garfield and Maguire.
And Gwen Stone and
it's very sneaky when you think about it, because like then you go like, you didn't like the latest one, well, we'll bring the old one, he'll be in it too. Now everyone will buy tickets. Yay.
They're just trying to milk the sort of millennial Gen Y kind of nostalgia for those films, even though it was only like 15, 20 years ago.
Bloody Spider-Man. How quickly can you have a reboot of us?
Oh man, yeah. And I wasn't even a massive fan of the old Spider-Man films. I like the new ones, the Tom Holland ones I actually enjoy, but I was never a massive fan of I didn't hate them, but I wasn't really a massissive fan of the old Spider-Man films.
I actually like the fact with the Tom Holland Spider-Man, they went, fuck it, we're not going to do an origin story.
Yeah.
It's just going, here's Spider-Man, go Spider-Man in a different movie. Then we've done that. We can move on. Yeah. Moving on.
Him in Civil War was just great just to see him actually in normal again. It's just
I do sometimes think that the reason that Marvel done quite well is that they got to realise that the Sony Gibbons showed them how badly they could screw it up if they didn't do it right.
Well, yes, let's hope they do. But my thing is like you had the Fantastic Four, and that's I've never liked the Fantastic Four. Never liked them in the comics. I mean, never mind the films. I've never liked the Fantastic, and I've realised that the problem they keep going with the Fantastic Four films is Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like Fantastic Four is like a James Bond movie, and James Bond movies live and die on their bad guys.
Yeah.
Right, and I think what they should do is they should concentrate on getting Doctor Doom right, and then the Fantastic Four will, as a movies, will work. I think if they get Doctor Doom,
it right.
Say it again, Chris.
They're rebooting it again.
Are they?
Yes, of course they are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fifth time lucky.
Well, How many? There. Yeah, I didn't see the last Fantastic Four film.
Officially, it's fifth time lucky. Yeah, officially, it's fifth time lucky if they get it right this time. If you include the one they didn't release in the 90s because it was only made to keep the license.
I want to see Latveria. I want Doctor Doom, Latveria. I don't want one of these kind of ersatz Doctor Doom. I want a proper ruler of Latveria with an iron fist, Doctor Doom. That's what I want. Yeah. I want it. I must have it.
Soon.
So Ben, have you got anything coming up? Any new projects or anything?
Well, this is the trouble being a writer. Is very slow. I have an Abigail novella coming out in March called "What Abigail Did That Summer" because I'm just a whiz with titles. You can tell. And then next year is the 10th anniversary.
It is.
So we will probably be doing fun things for the 10th anniversary, like trying to milk money out of people with special editions and stuff.
Oh no, I'm such a sucker for a special edition.
Yeah, I know. My son is too. You see, this is how I know it's possible. I'd never even heard of this sort of thing until my son started buying Funkos, and I thought, aha!
It's all about special editions.
Merch.
Yeah.
There will be a new comic.
Ooh.
Out in the summer. I think it's something like June launch for a new comic that's called Monday, and that will be a bit like detective stories in that it will be 4 sort of stories with an overarching thing. Because I had a couple of things. Well, I don't know. I'm just lazy and can't be bothered to write a whole 4 episodes, to be honest. No, I wanted to get behind kind of like the idea of like what everyone gets up to on a Monday. So that's basically what everyone's Monday, and it's not a sort of Rashomon episode because it's not really about people having different perceptions, but it's about what people do. Like it's about the fact that everyone has their own life. So you see you see a day from Stephanopoulos' point of view, which I know Stephanopoulos needs more love, especially in where she lives, and then you see a Nightingale one, and you have a Peter one, and then you have a Foxglove and Abigail one. So that's basically it. Got very ambitious. I don't know if it's going to be any good.
I love the idea because just like introducing new facets of each character, which you haven't.
Yeah, well, the thing is the bloody Nightingale one got really fan servicey because we went back to Casterbrook, back to his watching him as a young boy learning magic for the first time and things like that. I didn't know it was going to go there, and it just went there, and I just thought, okay, well, it's okay. This is going to look very fan servicey.
What did you say there, Christina? Sorry.
I said that I approve of that. The fan service about Thomas Nightingale. Yep.
Yes. Well, I didn't set out. It's funny how you do these things, and you look back and you go, "Wow, that is incredibly just a cash grab." You have just done it, and you don't actually. This is why I think a lot of time people think everyone cynically plots these cash grabs, but it's just like you quite want to know this stuff. I quite want to do. It's fans. When you do fan service, quite frequently it's author service as well. So it's kind of like, it's not just fan service. It's not like we're going, you want this and I don't want to do it. It's like, okay, I would do something that I wouldn't normally do because it would be too self-indulgent. But hey, you guys want it? Fine. Fine. I wanted to do it, but they said no because it was too self-indulgent. And then you get to a certain point, and then people become uneditable, and the work goes downhill, and you go into inevitable decline. It's entropy, really.
Okay. All right. I think we're going to leave it there.
I can't believe how much rubbish I've spoken.
No, it's been brilliant.
1.5 hours.
Pure gold. We've alienated nearly every country in the world, and it's been great.
And quite large regions of the I don't
the UK.
About the Welsh, did I?
No.
I love the Welsh.
There you are.
Yeah.
London and Wales are okay.
You said that about everyone.
Well, it's true. It's like I love everybody, but
I mean, I'm you take the piss out of people you love. That's the English way, anyway.
Yeah,
so
it's very true. It's very true.
If you didn't love them, you wouldn't bother talking about them.
Well, okay. Thank you very much, Ben, for joining us. It has been an absolute.
I had a lovely time, despite
yes.
the fact that we're using Skype.
But it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
I got bragging right.
Well, thank you, and it's nice. And did this go out live, or is this going out later?
It's live, and then it will go online. It'll be on Spotify. It'll be on iTunes. It'll be on all the podcasts.
My big problem is I can never remember what I said from one of these things to the other. And people go, "You said this thing on this," and
I'll send you a link.
Yeah, and we'll send you a link. So it'll be on there. It'll be on tomorrow, sort of afternoon, sort of early evening, probably. It'll be online and stuff, so you can see it, and you can go, "Oh no, did I really just say that?"
Yeah, I shall be hiding under the bed, and Disney will never employ me ever. I've pretty much fucked my life with Disney, DC, Marvel. Who else? No, pretty much everyone.
It's like, we were totally going to employ you, but then you said this, and then you play it back and you go, "Oh no, man!
Oh no, my life is over."
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's been super interesting.
This is the most fun I've had on a podcast for ages.
You're more than welcome to come back on. We can just shoot the shit, and you can offend more people, so it's okay.
It's great. Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain I didn't do the Orkney Islands, so you know.
we'll make a list. So we've had those, and we'll move on to that.
And Norwegians were unscathed. Belgium, Holland, Finnish.
Yeah.
There are so many countries.
So little time.
So little insults.
So even go after the Argentinians.
Oh yes.
That's cruel. You shouldn't say anything about the Argentinians. It's just cruel. Shouldn't mock the afflicted. It's a terrible thing to do.
No.
Oh no. all complaints can be directed towards Ben.
Don't bother sending them to me. I have mastered the art of the mute tweet on tweets. So
so for tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Mark Canty.
Good night, all.
Peter Ray Allison.
Stay safe, everyone.
Sean Wallace.
Good night.
And Christina, I'm going to bastardize your name. Do you want to say your name so I don't kill it? So I don't kill your second name? Bogdan. Right? Is that it? Closer. Christina Bogdan. Yeah.
Everyone.
And finally, this special guest and the offender of everybody in the world, Ben.
Hello. And if I haven't offended you tonight, I promise to get round to you at some point.
Stick to the next podcast. Ben Aaronovitch, thank you very much, sir, and good night.
You're welcome. Good night.